genre.
In the world of Hollywood, movies get greenlit and redlit. They get remade and rebooted. But we are the Ideal. I'm Sam Gasch, and you are listening to Ideal Remake. Thank you for listening to Ideal Remake. We take movies that either have been, will be, or should be remade and talk about what the ideal version of that remake would be. Today we're going to be recapturing the golden days, the era when this podcast was big and we were all stars. At least that's what my butler keeps telling me. And my guest today is big. It's the podcasting that's gotten small. So, Graham Marshall, is Sunset Boulevard a movie that has been, will be, or should be remade?
So the short answer is it has not been remade as a feature film. And coming into this, I thought it never should be touched. And after doing this, I think now's the best time to do it.
I tentatively agree. I do think it's a will be, because it's one of those things where it's like, oh, Sunset Boulevard. We've all heard of that. I was having conversations with some, actor friends of mine, and they talked about how, long before they ever saw this movie, they had, acting teachers and random other people going, oh, are you ready for your close-up, Mr. DeMille? And just would say that to them over and over and over. And just, literally the cultural penetration of that line is wild.
Yeah, that line, it's classic. The whole movie's classic. The whole movie's so quotable. What's kind of interesting about approaching it now is there has been in a Broadway musical, an Andrew Lloyd Webber Sunset Boulevard musical that got redone in 2023. And looking at IMDb yesterday, I found out that Paramount is in talks of making a feature adaptation of the musical.
Oh.
So we're not here for that.
No, but that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Because theoretically there are, movie musicals, and I've never remade a movie into a musical, I don't think. I don't know.
Oh. You weren't ahead of Mean Girls?
I wasn't ahead of Mean Girls, no. It never occurred. Because, it has to do that arc of, it goes from movie to Broadway back to movie. Because, I don't know anything that became a musical, went from movie to musical without having the Broadway stop in the middle.
Sure. Yeah, it's an odd departure, and we'll definitely consider that when getting into it. I should
rephrase. I'm not aware of a movie post 1950 where that's happened.
Of course.
Because Wizard of Oz, famously.
Yes, and 1950 though, the year this came out, it is a seminal year. This is the 75th anniversary of the movie.
That's true.
So there's been a lot of kind of attention going back to it, and I've seen it 4 or 5 times this year.
Just this year?
Just this year. For a particular reason, but I should spill the beans kind of soon, is I work at Paramount as a preservation manager and though I did not directly work on our restoration, our 4K big restoration that came out this year, I was able to get a behind-the-scenes look and see how it was done, and it's really solidified my personal relationship to this movie, because when I was a depressed film school student, I guess just film school student in Denver in 2015, 2016, I spent $100 very valuable dollars buying a framed poster of Sunset Boulevard after I saw it for the first time.
Oh, that's amazing.
I fell in love with it and traveled here about a year later, to move to LA a year later, and kept the poster, and now it hangs behind me in my office on the Paramount lot. So
that's awesome.
There's this really fun kind of full circle thing about this movie, which is why I wanted to talk about it, but I also feel like I know too much about it now.
I mean, that's incredible. My history with this movie is, so I go to see movies at the WGA theater on Doheny a bunch, and the lobby of that movie theater is a bunch of movies about writers.
Oh, sure.
So you have Barton Fink and Mank and a bunch of other things, and the Sunset Boulevard poster has obviously been there. But the first time I watched this movie was on Tuesday.
No way.
I had never seen this movie before. And so, there's all these amazing moments and things where, the big twist in the middle of the movie got me. I didn't see it coming, obviously. I didn't know to look for it.
I wanted to ask about that.
Yeah. And up until that point, and my friend who watched it with me had seen the movie a bunch. Presley Peters had seen the movie a few times, and so, he got to have the fun joy of, being with me when I'm seeing it for the first time. And I was like, oh, this Max guy, he's so cool. He's my favorite character. And Presley was like, yeah. And I was like, ah! And then like we're kind of like chatting over the movie as I tend to do, but like obviously still watching. And as we're watching it on Hoopla.
Oh God, I've never heard of that.
So this movie's not really available on streaming for free anywhere except on Hoopla.
Okay.
Hoopla is the library streaming service. In order to have Hoopla, you have to connect your library card.
It's different from Canopy, though?
Apparently, yeah.
Okay.
And so went online, like signed up for Hoopla, put in my Los Angeles library card.
Great.
And they had Sunset Boulevard, so I was able to reserve it for 48 hours and watch it.
Nice. With commercials? Did
Nope.
Okay, that's always the thing that can
no, not
switch.
at all.
Okay, great.
It was awesome. And so like as we're getting to the end of the movie and and like my brain slowly realizes I pause our conversation and go, wait, this is where the line's from. And President was like, yeah. And I was like, hold on, wait. And like literally watched like the last 5-10 minutes and just like complete silence, just like laser focused, just being like, it's about to happen. The film history thing. And I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille, and she just throws the line away, which of course is the way to deliver that. You don't know that it's going to be this like big like touchstone of cinema. And then you get to see the moment where she like moves towards the camera. I had seen that before, but I obviously like didn't connect the pieces of it being as a part of this movie. Because you see it, it's like one of those things where you watch the Oscars and they do like their history of cinema with a bunch of iconic moments from movies.
That'll have her with the hand coming.
Yeah,
of course.
And I was just like, oh, and so like that's a visual thing that I'd seen before, but didn't know it was from this because I didn't necessarily put it together. And I was like, this is it. This is the movie history thing. It's happening.
Oh my God, it's so exciting. Yeah, I really want to know your thoughts about it then as a writer and what it says about writing. But what I think is so complicated about this movie and remaking this movie is how much about Hollywood it is. It's airing the dirty laundry of Hollywood, and it worked, but movies try to do that and they don't work. And what I want to try and like investigate is how do we do that now, and would Paramount allow a movie like this to be made now? So I'm really curious to go like all of those routes, because I think you need to set what the movie's about before you cast it, because casting the movie is about the movie.
Oh yeah. And
you need to know what a celebrity is like in their private life. And it's a really interesting kind of balancing act because, we'll get into it, but Gloria Swanson wasn't a Norma Desmond. She wasn't the silent film star she had been and got famous for, but she was a very successful TV, radio personality and was not a hermit, was a very outgoing woman.
It's hard to find and cast an actual hermit. Like,
of course,
but like the aspect of this movie where like it's showing these moments and images from silent movies, and it's like that's clearly real and that's clearly her. Mm-hmm. Like it's definitely like the same person. So there's the metatextual elements of this movie that are fascinating, and I'm like realizing it as I'm watching it because I'm like, no, this is real. That like everything about this movie as it was happening was so indicative of why it had the staying power that it did. Because I've seen 2 other Billy Wilder movies. I've seen The Apartment.
Okay.
And I've seen Fedora, which no one's talked about.
Yeah, and it's his other I don't like Hollywood movie. It's not. I don't know which one came out first. I'm going to look. Fedora was a lot later.
Yeah, because the thing about Fedora, Fedora is 28 years later. Yeah. It's 1978 versus this 1950 movie, which makes sense. It's in color. So I did Fedora for the podcast. That's why I watched it. And the thing about Fedora is that like. I now understand more why that movie didn't have the staying power, because it feels like it's kind of doing a lot of the same things that this movie's doing, with a little bit more fantastical realism thrown in a time when people weren't looking for that, because this is dramatically real.
Yeah.
With one vague exception. But like... And it's not the vague exception that you might think it is.
Okay.
I think the vague exception is that this dude walks into a party, meets a girl, and all of a sudden they're like, okay, cool, so we're in love forever, right? and despite the fact that she's like engaged to like one of his friends. I'm like, no, that's a movie thing. Absolutely not. What are you doing?
But then you see William Holden come out of the pool and you're like, I get it.
I I get why, like, Norma Desmond fell in love with him, but, like, I don't necessarily understand why Betty fell in love with him instantly. I would have believed it after they had continued to work on the movie. Like, my whole thing for them is that, like, she's kind of playing around with him, like, yeah, I'm with Artie. And the name's in front of me. I could have looked down. I'm with Artie. It's fine. We're just and I love Artie. But like working with someone and then like trust a writer to really love the idea of like someone getting to know and love someone by seeing how good they are at writing.
Yes, 100%.
Which is of course exactly what I'm pitching.
And Billy Wilder was known for the writing as well. He always considered himself as much of a writer as a director or a producer.
Absolutely.
And the writing team of him and Charles Beckett, I believe.
Brackett.
Along with a third co-writer who nobody talks about, but is, I think, a big part of this story.
D.M. Marshman Jr.
Thank you.
I don't know. IMDb Pro is open in front of me.
That's 100%. and their writing, the stories of Brackett and Wilder writing are basically their secretaries got used to hearing yelling and phone books being thrown across the wall, which, you know, if it works, it works. Probably not the best way to do it now, but like back in the 40s, 50s, you know, like if that's the worst thing your writers are doing, I think you're okay. But the writing is so tight in this movie.
Yeah.
And what it says about being a writer, as someone who's not a writer, I find fascinating because I think it, again, not only airs the dirty laundry of Hollywood, but shows writing, the process of writing and collaboration and how that can be complicated and can help. I mean, Wilder was known for always collaborating on his scripts because he liked the push and pull.
Yeah.
I know a lot of writers who are, this is my vision and we want that. And I think this movie gets a lot from having different perspectives as far as writing, as Hollywood, as age, as we'll need to get into, and I think is one of the harder parts about approaching it now is like, to me, so when you talk about the big reveal of this movie, do you mean like when you were surprised, do you mean like realizing it's actually Joe Gillis who gets shot at the end, or is that established in the beginning? Because to me, the big reveal of this movie is the way they treat Norma and then realize she's only 50.
Yeah.
Like, they treat her like this, like, I don't know. And I want to get into if the movie treats her like this or if the characters treat her like this, which I think are different. But they treat her like an old, washed-up hag. And she is this beautiful woman who everyone is just cast off at 50. And that was, when I rewatched this year, I was like, oh.
When she goes back to the Paramount lot and it, like, I was like, oh, I thought she died.
Right.
I mean, she's a hermit, so like she disappeared from public life. But like she hasn't been in movies for 15, 20 years after having been in movies for 15 years because she was discovered when she was 16.
16, allegedly. They wanted to say 14 like it actually was, but it was afraid of what that connotated, so they moved it to 16.
Which isn't a lot better, but it is better.
But no, Gloria Swanson was definitely an ingenue in the silent era and had been and was a huge star.
Yeah.
But then you also kind of have to do some of the math and be like, okay, so this film was made in 1950, shot in 1949. Gloria Swanson was 49, 50 when they were shooting it. She was big from, maybe 1917, 1918 to around 1930 when the talkies took over. That's a 25, 30-year difference. If we're going to set this movie in modern times, this is a Y2K movie.
Yeah.
Like, putting that in perspective really
crazy.
Messed with me. Where, like, we are 25, 30 years away from 2000. Like, we're getting the late 90s, 2000. And so when I was approaching this, I'm like, oh, like, that is perspective shifting.
It is. And it'll be fun when we get into casting, because I do think that informs who I ended up going with for the lead, because unlike a lot of the things that I do on this, I do think it's important for the lead to be known in the same way that Gloria Swanson
Gloria Steinem would be its own.
my brain broke. Gloria Swanson was for this. Like, there is the metatextual, and I think the metatextual part of this is important.
Oh, absolutely.
I also aged her up by 15, 20 years,
Okay.
because I think a 1950s 50 years old is no longer a 2025 50 years old.
Absolutely.
But we'll get into that.
Sure.
I think there are a lot of people like me who haven't seen Sunset Boulevard. There are a lot of people who like take a look at this and go, oh, this movie from 1950 in black and white, I don't need to watch that. And I don't think that's true, but there basically are a lot of people who did not go to film school, like myself. So I do think we should do a quick walkthrough of the movie.
100%.
Because I think we should go over the two big twists.
Okay.
One of them is that the movie starts with us seeing a dead body in a pool, and then it cuts to narration, and that narration is William Holden playing Joe Gillis. I did eventually figure out, I don't know, 50% of the way through the movie that was him in the pool. I don't think that is the big reveal for me, because this movie is described as like drama film noir, and I would describe it as thriller noir as opposed to like more drama, because like there's this tension of we know something bad is going to happen to him. On what scale and how many other people have this happened to? Because we're eventually going to find out that Norma Desmond has been married 3 times. And Joe Gillis is staying in the room where all 3 of those husbands lived. Because we're Hays Code, husband and wife sleep in different rooms. Crazy.
Well, according to Cameron Diaz, that's the way to save your marriage. So who knows?
Huh. Well...
Oh yeah, we're gonna get into. I love celebrity culture, and this is why
the movie
this movie
about it. Yeah.
I really responded to it. And you know, the blind items are all fake anyway, so it doesn't matter.
So we meet Joe Gillis, and basically he's a struggling writer. No one's really buying what he's writing, and some goons show up to repossess his car, and he manages to get away with his car because he parked his car someplace else, and he goes around town begging for favors for $300, which we looked up, and it's like $3,800 now.
Okay, not an insignificant loan for
If a friend showed up and said, Sam, I need $4,000, and I'd say, fuck you.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. What are you talking about? So like I kind of like, it feels a little bit less significant now for someone to show up and be like, hey, can I have $300? My life depends on it. But if someone said, hey, I need $4,000, my life depends on it.
My car.
Yeah. And so he goes around to his agent, to a producer, to everyone he knows, trying to sell a script, ask for money, do something, and it just doesn't work out. And so he's driving away, trying to figure out what he's going to do, and then, like, he drives past the goons who flip a Yui, and then, like, give him this chase, and he ends up driving into Beverly Hills on Sunset Boulevard. And he, like, finds this weird place. He finds what he believes to be an abandoned house, an abandoned garage, and he parks there to hide out for a little bit. He's like, well, as long as I'm here, I'll explore a little bit. And he walks up to the house, and it turns out it's not abandoned. An aged, decrepit crone of a woman and her butler are living there. And they basically demand that he come inside. They've been waiting for him, which on its own is creepy enough.
100%. And the intro shot of her in the window with the sunglasses is just iconic in its own way.
Oh, yeah.
She's in power but reclusive, and it kind of stays that way, the way they shoot the film, until the end when Joe is trying to escape, or at least, you know, not at the very end, but like when he's trying to figure out what to do and she's still on the banister looking down at him. It
is the stereotype for high status character, and maintained throughout. And then you see like the cracks over the course of it to like see that it's like a low status character puppeting a high status character.
Sure.
But basically, they bring Joe inside under the misguided belief that he is the mortician come to bury her pet chimpanzee.
Which, on its... So, really quick, before we go any farther, I want to try and identify what genre this movie is, because to me, it is, I think, more of a thriller than a drama. I do think it's a film noir. I do think, at least the way it's shot at points, it's a monster movie. But it is also a comedy. This movie is very funny.
Yeah.
And very acerbic and really kind of absurd. And I think it really starts with this funeral for a beloved chimp.
I would say it's not a comedy, but I would say it's a satire.
Okay. That's fair. I mean, there are points that I truly did laugh, but I think it's because of how satirical it is. Like, yeah, absolutely.
It's this absolute hermit of a rich old lady, and her pet chimp has died. But the fascinating thing about that is, like, knowing what I do about chimpanzees, having read the unproduced Bubbles script.
Oh, I would love to read that.
I can send it to you. I have it saved in my email somewhere. The premise of that script is that it's a biography of Michael Jackson told from the perspective of his chimpanzee.
Sure.
Chimps that are that size are babies. They get, like, people-sized. And so that means that the chimp that she had was a few years old.
Oh,
Max.
I didn't think about that, because they explicitly say when the real chimp coroner comes in, it's a baby coffin.
Yeah.
Huh.
Because, like, we think about Bubbles, the coffin, and Michael Jackson walking with this little chimpanzee in a diaper. Because it's, like, 2, 3, 4 years old, it's not big. And, like, as it will get bigger, it'll get person size.
Sure.
That's why they're super dangerous, and you can't have them as pets.
Right.
They are wild animals.
Yeah, Chimp Crazy is not a fun documentary.
No.
I will say.
Yeah.
But did I cast the chimp in our remake? I did. So.
Oh, that's so exciting for me. But the reason why I bring that up is because that's what makes it a thriller for me. Is like because I know that that's a very young animal, so it didn't die of old age or anything. I'm like, she killed this animal, and I was slowly starting to figure out that she was going to be the one that, like, kills everybody. So I was thinking it was going to be like a Black Widow type situation, especially as we learned that she also had 3 ex-husbands.
That's a great idea. I really have not thought about it that way, in that it's not just an absurd kind of movie star trope of having an exotic animal. It's she did not take care of it, and maybe. Who knows?
Well, and then she buries it in her yard.
Right.
Because she obviously, like, doesn't want to go anywhere. She has, like, it's not stated, but she's definitely agoraphobic. And the aspect of, like, she buried it in the yard and leads me to believe that the 3 husbands are also buried in the yard.
Oh.
Which is where my head was going, having, again, not seen this movie before.
So I think I know what your other reveal is.
Of course.
Okay.
We'll get to that, I suppose.
Sorry, I'm jumping ahead.
No, but
that's
like,
interesting.
as somebody who's seen the movie sometimes, like, you're like, oh, now I'm understanding what was so surprising for you.
Totally.
So, like, because that's the perspective, like, as seeing this movie for the first time, that's the way this story is unfolding for me. And that's why I'm so adamant that it's a thriller, because it's like, death is kind of lurking around every corner, and we don't know when it's going to happen.
Okay.
From my perspective.
Yeah.
But what ends up happening is that Norma is this forgotten silent film era, and in a world of talkies, she's kind of, like, been moved on from.
Which happens a lot. A lot of actors and actresses couldn't really work after the switch because they had bad voices or couldn't deliver lines.
Absolutely.
And silent film acting, which I think is one of the parts of Gloria Swanson's performance that really is brilliant, is she acts throughout the film like a silent movie star.
Yes.
She emotes that way. She has the hand gestures. She, like, goes up to a bedpost to have this sad monologue. Like, it's a very expressive way of acting, and by her incorporating that into Norma's personality, it really is another facet of a person who has not moved on from when they were famous.
It is a phenomenal performance, and, like, impressive beyond measure, and because she kills it on every level. And we end up saying that she's been working on a script of her own. She finds out that Joe is a writer and not a mortician. She's about to kick him out, but she's like, wait, you're a writer.
Yeah,
and you're in my house.
He was quick to mention that.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, no, I do write, just a little bit.
Well, it was one of those things where it was like, I'm not a mortician, I'm a writer. And she was like, oh, well then, fuck you, get out of here. But she reveals that she's been working on a script about Salome.
Thank you. Yes.
That's what you were about to Google?
Yes.
Which I don't have written down. For whatever reason, that's the name I remember.
Oh, that's a rabbit hole in itself.
Yes.
Rita Hayworth played Salome in 1953. So, like, I want to know how that movie was made after this movie came out.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about this movie is that, like, according to the statistics on IMDb Pro, this movie appears to be a flop. Yeah, the budget was $1.7 million. Opening weekend was like $160,000, and then the gross worldwide is $300,000.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So it's distinctly possible that this is one of those movies that has grown over time.
Sure.
Which would absolutely be fair. But, like, obviously it was, like, nominated for, like, Academy Awards and stuff, but, like...
11.
Yeah.
Won 3, which should have won 4. Gloria Swanson did, and Bette Davis both lost in the Oscar race that year to Judy Holliday.
They both lost to Judy Holliday?
They both lost to Judy Holliday in a movie that I'm sure is good. I have not seen it, but Born Yesterday.
So, and Judy Holliday's playing both a lead and a supporting in that movie?
Well, no, this was all for lead actress.
Got it.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Because supporting didn't exist at that point.
No, supporting existed, and Nancy Olsen was nominated as well for supporting, which...
You know what? Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. No, I think that's great.
But Gloria Swanson or Bette Davis, like, incredible, iconic performance.
There's an argument then that they split the vote.
This is true. Absolutely.
But either way, so presumably this won Best Picture.
It did not.
No.
It
won
Best Art Direction for a black and white film. It won Story/Screenplay, which is different than Screenplay in 1951. And Music for a Comedy or Drama, ironically, not a musical, because that was a separate Oscar, was Music for a Musical.
There are different music things now anyway, of like scoring versus...
Sound design versus scoring, but not... It's for the Oscars, I don't think it's genre specific, like the Golden Globes are.
Yeah.
This did not win Best Picture.
It doesn't even appear to be nominated for Best Picture.
I believe it...
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Okay,
absolutely.
Did All About Eve win? I should know this out of the 1951 Oscar page that I scoured. It's
Yeah, the winners were Best Music, Best Writing, Best Art Direction. Yeah. So none of the performances, not the directing.
Not the writing?
Not the writing.
All nominated.
No, Best Writing.
Oh yeah, writing, yes. I just said that. But not screenplay, Story/Screenplay, which again, would love to know what the difference is.
Well, story and screenplay, it like all three of them won. So it wasn't like one or the other. I don't know what the difference is.
Okay.
Like there's an aspect of I don't know what the difference is. It's just one Best Writing.
Okay. I'll take that.
But then the actors didn't win, which wild to me. But there are a lot of really good movies happening at that time. So like All About Eve, obviously incredible. So she's been working on the Salome script, and it's terrible, but she basically is like, this is going to be my big comeback into the world of movies. I'm going to do the Dance of the Seven Veils, because my fans are crying out for me to return to the screen. Every day I receive a request for autographs and signatures.
Letters. Hundreds and hundreds of letters.
Yes. And so she basically like pays for Joe to not leave, to stay there since he has to hide out from the mob anyway. And she basically is going to pay him to do notes on her script. Mm-hmm. But what it ends up being is that her script is handwritten. She's basically just paying him to type it up. Because anytime he makes notes or makes corrections, she insists that those scenes and notes go back in.
Yep.
And over the course of the movie, his car gets taken anyway. He loses his apartment. And all of his things get moved in, and he basically just kind of becomes the kept house pet man.
Yes.
Of Norma Desmond. But it's like he ends up kind of realizing, well, I don't have to worry about anything. I don't have to do anything. All I have to do is kind of like tend to the ego of this woman, mm-hmm. which I can do that. It's better than having to go around town and beg for money. But at the same time, he misses writing. He misses his friends. And so he, like, as he starts going a little bit crazy himself, he starts like sneaking out to go to a party, and mm-hmm. his car is taken, but she has this incredible fancy car,
which $28,000 in I assume 28 when she bought it.
Yeah,
that's more expensive than the car I bought like a couple of years ago.
Yeah, like, it's like a $500,000 car.
Yeah. And it's beautiful, like it really
Which
is.
is why later in the movie, when she starts getting calls from Paramount, it's because they see the car and they're like, well, we have to use this incredible car.
Yes.
Basically, all of this is happening, and around New Year's,
yes.
he sneaks out to go to a New Year's party, but because at the same time there's competing New Year's parties of Norma Desmond throws a New Year's party just for him and for her. And he's like, are there any other guests that are going to be around? Because he knows she has other friends. She plays bridge with some other people.
The Waxworks.
Waxworks.
Yes.
Which, fine. And then he realizes that none of her other friends are coming. She threw this party just for him and for her because...
And we're talking musicians. We're talking, like, full catering.
Yes.
Like...
The butler, Max, is basically, like... taking care and catering to her. He's been catering to her every whim this entire movie, and he's just like this like devoted like manservant kind of guy. And he's just like, oh, this is weird for me. She's like, well, of course, because I'm in love with you. And he's like, oh no. And she goes, and none of the doors in this house have any locks on them because she's had bouts with self-harm before. Yes. And they don't want her to be able to lock herself into any room. And so she like races upstairs and throws the door closed, and Max follows her up to take care of her.
So he's like, I'm out. I'm going to go to my friends' parties, which that New Year's party looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I will say. Just packed. Yeah. They have punch. I want to attend. Everyone's in suits.
He shows up as best dressed because she's been dressing him in nothing but the finest clothes.
Absolutely. And his purported friend, loves to make fun of him for it, which is kind of endearing until it like kind of keeps going and you're like, I get it. But then he steals the girl, so. Well,
he meets the girl that he'd met at the beginning of the movie, who was the reason one of his scripts was rejected, because she read it and was like, this is terrible. What are you doing?
Great scene, too.
It's a fantastic scene. And then he meets her again, and she's like, I felt bad about being so mean to you. So I went back and read some of your other scripts, and they're all pretty bad. But there was this one section of this one script that was really good. And I'd love to work with you more on taking that one section and expanding it into a whole story, because I think that story would be incredible. Mm-hmm. And he was like, that's such a great idea. We should also make out a bunch.
They have this scene that where they're kind of performing it in the middle of this party, waiting for a phone to be available, which acting chops. Actors acting as writers who are then acting.
Yeah.
And it's this weird flip where they just lock in, and this chemistry is just beautiful.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And so the phone ends up becoming free, and he calls back, and he finds out that Norma Desmond slit her wrists and is in recovery.
With his razor.
With the razor that he brought in.
Yes. Because
there weren't any other razors in the house, despite the fact that I'm sure there are knives in the house. But like, based on what they eat and all, like, the meat and whatever, like, there's knives. But she goes into his room and takes his razor and uses it to slit her wrists. And so he races back to the house because he's like, oh my God. And so because he realizes that, like, her mental health and everything else is so dependent on him loving her, he decides to stay there and love her back. Mm-hmm. And then we see him in a swimsuit.
Yep. I will admit, the first time I saw this movie, I did not catch on the fact that they do very much end up sleeping together.
Oh, and, yeah.
Like, I don't know. I was still learning how to...
Hays Code.
Yeah, exactly. Which really inspires a lot of creativity. But yes, he, like, lays with her in the bed, and it closes out that second act of her with her wrists wrapped. And then it, opens up, and when you have the scene of them at the pool, William Holden's posture is so much more relaxed around her.
Yeah.
Just drying off, showing off for the people in the dark.
Yes.
And you can really just eye in that they are definitely an item now. And
I would make an argument that that's not the end of the second act. I would argue that that's the midpoint of the movie.
Midpoint. Okay, sure. Yeah, I will follow your screenplay structure much more than mine.
Because I feel like Act 3 is Hollywood.
Okay.
And we haven't reached that point quite yet.
Correct.
Because now we're reaching the point where we're kind of like settling in, and the bars are coming down, and like the rope is tightening, and he is becoming more tied to.
Absolutely.
And he's like fully committing himself to like this world and this life. I don't remember what happens immediately after that, because I don't know if it is immediately after that we'd be in Hollywood. Because if that's the case, then yes, end of Act 2.
Well, there's the part where they're kind of in the car together, and Norma is out of cigarettes, and they have to stop, and then doesn't that kind of kick off the rest, where he ends up meeting Betty Schaefer and Artie in the diner, or in the drugstore.
I feel like so you're right. So that is the end of Act 2, because then we begin Act 3 with him finishing the script and Max going and dropping it off at Paramount.
Right.
As like a separate trip, Max, go drop this off. Let's see what happens. And then it's like, oh, well, now we've settled into the relationship. Mm-hmm. Weeks, months have gone by. Settled into a relationship. They go to stop by the drugstore. He runs in the drugstore that we see at the beginning of the movie is like, where all the writers hang out, at this drugstore. And he runs into Artie and Betty, and Betty's like, where the hell have you been? I've been trying to call you. Because like there have been calls and stuff to the house, and Joe has ignored them. And basically at this drugstore, Joe is pitched her idea for the movie, and he's like, it's your story, you take it. Mm-hmm. With my blessing, it's all yours. And she's like, I don't want to work on this alone. And
collaboration.
Yeah. And he's like, you got this, clearly. And he forgets the cigarettes.
Which, again, this line, I snicker at every time where it's like, where are my cigarettes? Norma, you're smoking too much. Like,
Yeah.
those are the little Wilder isms
Yes.
that I do still latch on to as like, the tone of this movie is a lot more complex than one genre. But again, it's, I think you're right. It's satirical of
course,
all of that.
Yeah. And so basically she's there. We end up going to Paramount. There's a call from Paramount. We end up finding out that it's about her car, which was used to drop things off. But she thinks that it's because some Mr. DeMille is having his assistant call to offer her a role in the script and have the conversation. She's like, no, if he wants to talk to me, he'll call me himself. And that never happens. So she goes, bustling to Paramount, busts onto his set, and shows Mr. DeMille, of course I'm ready to have this conversation with you. And he's like, what conversation?
Yeah. There's this great scene of when they do enter, the newer, younger security guard doesn't know who she is, and she flags down an old security guard who is very excited.
Yeah.
And they go through those famous gates, and you get to kind of see her almost justify, like, see her validated.
Yeah.
And it continues when she's on the set, and again, the older generation of extras, actors, crewmen. What's his name? The gaffer who... yes, one of the goofiest... Hog Eye.
Yeah.
I believe. That's such a really touching moment, I think. I do want to talk about how this movie and how the actors treat Norma and what it says about that. But, like, it is so touching to see her have this attention that she so craves. And, yeah, it's... But then you see DeMille, who... surprisingly good actor, I have to admit.
He did a very good job.
He's very good, but he also, I think... I don't know, he's an obviously genius director. He has to have known how callous he comes off in this movie. He's
supposed to.
He is, but there's something about him kind of admitting that by performing it that I found really interesting, where he's like, I know I'm kind of a dictator of a director who's manipulating people, but there's almost like this acceptance with him where it's like, that's what I do. That's what a director does. And if to deny that would be untrue, but he also really, like, when Norma is surrounded by these fawning people, he's like, okay, back to work, turn off that damn light. And he takes away her literally takes away her spotlight.
Yeah.
And you're like, it's hard to want to sympathize. Like, I just found that interesting that Cecil B. DeMille himself would be like, this is who I am, or at least this is who you think I am. Yeah. And he's just such a fascinating character that getting him to do that. Apparently he did not come cheap.
No way.
And I think he wanted upwards of $30,000 plus a new Chevy. Not Chevy. Chrysler. A new Chrysler. It was a lot.
There's an argument to be made that, like, his name has more staying power than some of the movies he made.
100%. Yeah, Cecil B. DeMille as a Paramount fixture as well. Like, that's another huge thing that we'll get into is he's not only a legendary director of both silence and, you know, sound era films, but he's very tied to Paramount Pictures. And I think that's an important part.
Like, when you, like, pulling up his overview on IMDb Pro, like, his, like, top 4 credits, one of whom is this movie, the 5 minutes he's in this movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's such a lasting story. And
I do have to throw in, so the assistant that is trying to get the car, just a kind of a normal job, his name's Gordon Cole. Get me Gordon Cole. And one of the reasons I think I grew to appreciate this movie when I first saw it is I am a big fan of David Lynch and his work. David Lynch's character in Twin Peaks that he plays is Agent Gordon Cole.
Is he really?
This is not a coincidence.
No.
And I would even argue Mulholland Drive is a spiritual successor. I would like to get into the West-East LA street cinematic universe. We could go Santa Monica Boulevard, Melrose Avenue, Wilshire, Beverly. I think it's there. But
there's an argument to be made that the most famous street in Hollywood isn't Hollywood, it's Sunset.
Absolutely. I really like that point. I didn't even mention Hollywood Boulevard. Yeah. Exactly.
Because people forget that it's a street.
Yes. And sometimes you want to forget.
Yeah, like, if you're spending time on Hollywood Boulevard, something's gone terribly, terribly wrong. Or you're going to the Egyptian.
Or you're going to the Egyptian, or Dave & Buster's, which, you'll see. You'll find me there.
Is that Dave & Buster's still there?
Because of me.
Okay, fair enough. Next time you go on a Wednesday, you let me know.
Oh, yeah, the half price.
Yeah.
It's a date.
Yeah, I'll take the train. I'll go down. Dave & Buster's. Let's fucking do this. I love Dave & Buster's.
So we get the scene, the big Cecil B. DeMille scene where Max hides the fact from Norma that that's kind of why they wanted her.
Well, he didn't know that either. He found out.
Oh, yeah, right. He finds out
at that time. Because
Correct.
people show up for the car.
Right.
And, like, he finds out at the same time that, I guess, Joe finds out or something. Because at the same time, like, they're parked next to the script supervisor office, and he runs into Betty again. And that's when he kind of starts his, like, emotional affair with Betty, where he does start sneaking out to work with her on the script. And as they leave, we find out that Norma doesn't have a future, but he does, which is an even bigger betrayal. And because, like, her whole thing is that, like, they've always missed me. And what we're going to end up finding out is that all of those letters that have been written to her were written to her by Max.
And why was that?
They're written to her by Max because Max discovered her when she was 16. And Joe's like, that's crazy. You're her butler. And he's like, she was made famous by the films of three men: Cecil B. DeMille, some guy,
D.W.
Griffith, and Max von Mayerling.
And did you get into the history of Max von Mayerling, like the actor Eric von Stroheim?
No.
So this is where I get to have a lot of fun. So
yeah, tell me all about him.
You can basically say that line: D.W. Griffith, Cecil B. DeMille, Eric von Stroheim.
Okay.
The film that Joe and Norma watch, the silent film, which is a movie I will find the name of soon enough, Queen Kelly, a silent film actually starring Gloria Swanson.
From 1929, apparently.
Was directed by Eric von Stroheim.
I'm seeing that right now.
So this is another huge meta thing, and something that I don't think Eric von Stroheim really reconciliated with is he is more known for this movie than directing arguably the most notoriously celebrated and lost silent film called Greed. It was a 7-hour
7-hour?
Which has in the film preservation, archival, restoration world, Greed is one of those holy grails to find that long, full cut. It had been chopped up into 4 hours. I think there's a 2-hour bit.
Yeah, IMDb Pro says that it's 140 minutes.
Okay.
Which is 2.5 hours.
Sure. But originally, before... His original intention was to make this 7-hour epic film that probably, if, one of the greatest films ever made that we may never see, but we also may just have not found those elements yet.
Yeah.
In film preservation, you want to kind of hope for the best. He was this incredible director on the likes of D.W. Griffith, Cecil B. DeMille, that ended up doing this job that kind of defined the rest of his career. And there is this weird sadness in that. I think he had a very crazy life that it deserves to have more knowledge of than he's an actor who played a butler, because their relationship is just von Stroheim's and Gloria Swanson's relationship is a real relationship.
Clearly.
They were not married.
So that's the other reveal, is that we find out that he's the first husband.
He's the first husband.
And he missed her so much after she broke up with him that he was willing to do anything he could to be back with her and support her, to the point where he became her manservant.
We've all been there.
That is true. That is tragically true. I hope she's doing well. Anyway.
That's so funny. Okay, so we're starting to kind of see the pieces come together.
And so at that point, that's a big reveal for me, because again, I thought all the previous husbands were dead, and it turns out that's not true. Max has been, and so he's been taking care of her and concocting this elaborate illusion for her entire life. And it's wild. But of course, it's the sort of thing where as things start to go wrong, he can't put the pieces back together fast enough. Because eventually Norma finds out about Betty, and she starts calling Betty and being this weird, creepy voice on the phone. And then Betty ends up finding out about Norma and Joe, because Joe walks in on Norma calling Betty, and he takes the phone from her. And then Betty's like, "Wait, Joe, what are you doing in the house of my stalker?" And he's like, "Well, we better hash this out. Why don't you come here?"
Over? So I'll bring my young girlfriend to my old girlfriend's house, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So Betty shows up. He basically's like, "This is the deal. This is who I am. This is why I told you you'd be better off without me. Now go have fun, you crazy kid." And so then Betty leaves, completely distraught. Her friend who shows up with her lets her go into the house alone, which is crazy to me. But, 1950s and movies. But also, don't ever do that. This crazy derelict house. And so then after Betty leaves, Joe starts packing up. He's like, "We're done. I just broke up. All the things that were making me happy, it turns out they weren't here. I can't believe I just did that. I need to leave." And Norma's like, "I'm a star. No one leaves a star." And
that's what makes a star.
That's what makes a star. And she had been threatening earlier. She's like, "You can't leave me. I have a gun. I'll kill myself." And he's like, "Yeah, I cannot spend my life being responsible for your mental health anymore." Which, frankly, heard. But and so she's like, "See, I have a gun." And he's like, I just can't. I just need to walk away." So he walks away, and she shoots him in the back. And he collapses into the pool, and we see the moments from the beginning of the movie.
Yes.
At which
you might be wondering how I got here.
Yeah.
Record scratch.
And he's still narrating, which I think is great.
The dead narrator keeps narrating after he's dead, and he's like has this perspective that's still funny. It's so good. They're so gentle when you're dead. He's totally okay with it.
Despite the fact that you're watching the movie and they're not.
Yeah.
It's wild. I love that as a framing device, as a narrative. And then meanwhile, Norma, having just killed a man for the first time,
that we know
I'm
of.
learning. No,
well, I don't know. There's a second husband we never really
and then a third.
And the third, yeah.
Yeah. And so either way, she goes full mental break from reality. But the house is surrounded by press and cameras and all these other things. And they're going to be recording her for the news of oh my God, this crazy starlet just killed her young boyfriend. And Max ends up using it as a directing of leaning into the mania of it all. And she believes she's going down to be directed by Cecil B. DeMille. But Max directs the news cameras to film her as she gets ready for her close-up. And she goes, wait, I just have to tell you all how happy I am to be here, how glad I am to be on set again. This is the happiest day of my life. I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille. And then she does the hand motion as she moves towards the camera. A very silent movie era movement.
Sure.
And that's the end of the movie.
Well, there's this little part at the very end. I think the whole ending is brilliant for so many ways, but the really tragic end is she's moving towards the camera and it goes out of focus and fades to black. She doesn't get her close up.
No,
she never will. But this ending is so brilliant to me as a screenplay, because the three principal characters all got their wish. She gets to star in a movie. Max gets to direct again. And Joe gets his pool. It really is this kind of thing where they all everything they wanted happened. It's like the genie in a bottle. You wish
the
for something.
Paw.
The monkey, yes, better.
The dead monkey's paw.
Oh, damn it! It's perfect. Okay, well, we're gonna have to incorporate that in the remake. But yeah, so you get the wishes you want, but not in the way you want them, and
you can't always get what you want. But if you try sometimes, you might find you end up dead in a pool.
Yes, and that's sometimes just okay, because then you get to narrate, and
he gets to tell the greatest story of his life.
Absolutely.
And I say that sentence meaning both ways.
So, brilliant movie.
Yeah, so good.
I'm glad you liked it, because I would have loved coming in here and you're like, yeah, I just watched it. I hated it.
Yeah.
Be like, okay.
That has happened before.
Of course. And that, I'm sure, has its own, fun in that. But this movie, it is a classic, and it was really interesting. Paramount hosted an on-the-lot screening of the new restoration a couple months ago, and they invited a lot of the employees to come. All of us archive folks were really excited, and we found out that they also invited like 100 influencers to So it was actually kind of
it sounds really meta.
That's a whole other thing about the meta-ness of it, but like the reason it worked is because no one was on their phone, because you're like, this is a very like, you know, kind of stricter screening. So you got to just kind of be in the moment with all of these folks who are younger, and they were so excited. Like they weren't like, what is this weird black and white, you know, movie, like you were saying, like that. But afterwards you just heard them be like, I mean, and some of the Letterboxd reviews I really wish I saved, but the words Norma Desmond and Girl Boss were definitely there.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I think this is a movie that is truly timeless, and why remastering it now and kind of getting this big thing for it has been such a cool thing to see.
Yeah.
And it's one of those movies that, restoration-wise, when I was talking with my boss and she was talking about restoring it, Paramount's restored it in 2002 and 2012. So they were like, why again? And there's a lot of things that I could get into to why this new version kind of has new things and adds to it. But at the end of the day, you want people to see the movie as authentically as possible, but with a modern context.
Yes.
So if you showed, you know, the 2012, 2002 remaster to a generation of young cinephiles now, it's not going to, there might be that disconnect you're talking about, but I think seeing a younger generation watch it in the way they're kind of used to seeing a movie, with a lot more fidelity, a lot more sound. And by a lot more sound, that's a whole thing. But you could see their excitement, and it was just really great. And why I think this movie does have power to be remade now in terms of the Hollywood era we're at.
I agree. I also think there's an element of this movie where it's Norma Desmond is clearly believing the story that's being fed to her. Like, let's get into the part of like what we want to do with it.
Yep.
And I think that the aspect of like, Max has a line to Joe where he's like, yeah, there are all these letters coming in, but like, don't check the postmarks of those. Sure. And Joe's like, wait. And he can tell that Max has been sending all of them. Mm-hmm. The fact that Max told him that is crazy to me, but I think it's one of those things where he's kind of heading it off at the pass, which I kind of appreciate, like, because Joe could like be looking at stuff and like have the realizations like, oh my God.
Right.
And it's better to be like, don't though. But I think like now, with the digital age that we're living in, it's so much easier to concoct an elaborate lie. You can have fake accounts all over the place.
Sure.
Just constant. We're aware of all the problems with bots on various social medias. So just all of a sudden, emails, letters, all of that, that's so easy to fake. And this area of Sunset Boulevard has terrible cell phone reception. like
yes, this is true.
You get into this area and you will not have like cell phone service. It just simply, you will not. Like, I, like, taking the hills, going down, like, ended up coming down, like, Doheny or something, or around there. You're just like, well, I guess I don't get any phone calls for the next little bit.
That's so interesting to me, but that's kind of your, like, prime differentiator on where to go with the remake is this lie and the ability to lie.
Yeah.
I think that's such a cool way to approach it, because for me, and I want to ask, so for your idea, is it a modern, are we taking
it has
place?
To be.
I agree. I do agree. I wanted to see what it would be like to put it back in 1950 or even like in 1970. And I think the reason you're right and I agree is because the movie was made in 1950 and it took place, or 4950, took place at that time. And it's a commentary on what Hollywood was and is at that point. And you would miss so many opportunities to comment about Hollywood now by putting it in the past, or
like it's fine to comment on something in the past. We're not there anymore, so it's unlike horror movies or sci-fi where you are using the nature of the movie itself to comment on the present. This is a thriller, a genre, or a thriller, a film noir, a drama, not a genre. I mean, it is a genre.
It is a genre.
But like those are things that are used to comment on the present of like, this is the way things are. Like, look at it on screen.
Totally.
But I feel about this the same way I feel when I talked about Casablanca, where it's like, Casablanca is a contemporary movie. We think of it as being indicative of the time and very, like, representative of what it is. But, like, if you're going to remake it, it needs to be now. What are the wars and conflicts that people are escaping from right now? And here it's, well, why would an older woman feel as though she has no place in Hollywood anymore?
Right.
And, like, I bet that's pretty relevant.
Absolutely. And so with your prime kind of starting off point being there, mine was the line, we didn't need dialogue, we had faces.
Yeah.
And I think as a TikTok, Instagram society, we're going back to this almost silent film era thing of not some of the most viral videos of our current era don't have any dialogue. It's just dancing, it's reactions, it's faces. And I think you could really play with that.
I think you can, because I think you can make the line, we didn't need CG, we had performance.
Sure, yeah.
And, like, because I feel like that whole thing is, like, you take... So I didn't use Richard. I didn't use Richard Linklater as my, like, director.
Okay.
I thought about him briefly, but I don't think he works. But,
Okay.
like, the whole concept of, like, a Richard Linklater movie, like the Before trilogy, like, you can use that as, like, I want to make something like that, this incredible personal, like piece, or, like Boyhood, or, like, any of the other, like...
Everybody wants some.
Hitman.
That's personal.
Wait. Oh, no. Also a Richard Linklater movie.
Yeah,
but,
also The Killer with Fincher, we don't need to get into it.
Yeah, no, we'll talk about all of that. But, like, this whole element of, like, she's trying to recapture an era of movies from her 20s or even her 30s when, like, it was about her being the star and about just, like, you didn't need to do anything other than know that she was in the corner and see how she was feeling, which we can get to. But especially with the casting choices, but, like, someone who definitely started very young and just, like, that is the only world she knew.
Yes.
And then the world changed.
Yes.
But the world that changed, that's the world that we know. And we're having to be reminded or introduced to it depending on how old we are.
Yeah, there's the theory that when you become famous, you kind of stay that age mentally for the rest of your life in the kind of worst case. And I think Norma is a 20s version of that.
Yes.
But...
I think there are obviously examples of that not being the case. Like, I think,
oh, yeah, 100%.
I think someone like... So 10, 15 years ago, I actually think perfect casting for this movie would have been, like, Jane Fonda.
She was my first choice until she was up there for me.
Of course she is.
Yeah.
She has to be.
Yes.
Because she's perfect for this. I do, unfortunately, think she's slightly too old. But, like...
I mean, I also was going to go with Julie Andrews, and...
And then you looked up, unfortunately, the state that she's in?
No. I just, like... I think wanting to go, with the idea that... I think she's doing fine at 90, but the idea of, like, when I first saw this movie of the, like, older actress, like, I was like, oh, what if it's interesting we do someone in their 80s or 90s? And then I
think Julie Andrews' health isn't... very good.
That's unfortunate.
Because so I was watching with Presley, and Julie Andrews was his suggestion as well.
Oh, interesting.
And I was like, I think that is an incredible suggestion, but unfortunately, I think her health isn't doing so well.
Right.
But, like, in terms of, like, era and...
I mean, I cast someone who's no longer with us, so
did you?
We'll get there.
We'll get into that. That's another crazy idea of, like, just going that whole route of just, like, it's not even a real person, it's just, like... Who played Princess Leia? Carrie
Fisher.
Thank you. Carrie Fisher. Is that who you cast?
No.
But, like, the whole, like, recreation, like, Carrie Fisher is actually perfect casting. Like, if Carrie Fisher was alive, we couldn't do this with anyone else.
That's interesting.
But, like, that whole idea of just, like, oh, well, it's not even a real person anymore. It's like, we're watching the movie and we know this person's not alive.
Right.
But, like, that's not fair.
But it's also,
And that
ideal.
sucks.
What's
Yeah.
an ideal remake?
Right.
And I want to go against the laws of man and nature to do this. So
we will get into that. So but in terms of like the plot of the movie, like fundamentally there's a lot that still works. Like we still get to go to the Paramount lot for right now. That still exists as time of recording.
I will say I think Paramount does need to be a part of this movie. I don't think it's feasible or smart to get into what has happened this year with the merger.
No.
One, I don't want to bite the hand that feeds, but also I just don't think I just don't think we're there to the point that we can like
it's still happening. We aren't aware enough to be able to comment on
Absolutely. So
I agree with that.
But Paramount, not only do they own the rights, but like they do need to be a part of this, just
Absolutely.
like they were, and they need to know that this is going to be about them.
Because I guess Billy Wilder didn't die in 1950, so it hasn't been death plus 75 yet.
He died in 2002.
What?
Yeah. So, or was that William Holden? No.
Billy Wilder died in 2002.
Yeah.
Holy hell, good for him. Well, it's going to be a while before this is public domain. William Holden died in 1981, 2 years before Gloria Swanson.
Way too young.
Gloria Swanson died in 1983. She outlived him.
That's wild. I did hear a fun, just to give a window of to who Gloria Swanson actually was. I was watching an interview with her granddaughter, and her granddaughter was saying for Gloria Swanson's 80th birthday, they wanted to throw a party at the Beverly Hilton, and apparently Gloria Swanson showed up with a cape and a black veil and just black everywhere, hobbling in, and then does like a Willy Wonka where she like takes it off and had this blue chiffon dress, and that's incredible. That's who Gloria Swanson was. She was self-aware, but also this incredibly deep, vivacious woman. So
clearly,
yeah.
I love that story because like we need that. And so anyway, I feel like, especially right now, it's really hard to be a writer, and you can have the writer talk about all of those things of just like this could be a writer that came up during I guess they'd be a little bit older if they were coming up during the 2008 strike, because theoretically he's going to be about my age.
Okay.
And like did his bit, went on strike, did all the different things, and then just was never able to recover because the industry collapsed underneath him, and he feels as though he's never stopped falling. And you can even track the different places and like apartments that he's lived in, because he started in a nice apartment. You can even say off of Sunset. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine anyone living off of Sunset now, but like
I do, and it's
I know, I'm making a joke.
It's a thing. It is a thing.
Yeah. And you have that whole element of like starting there, and you can just like, you can even have the joke of like where he's been living by citing the like Los Angeles locations of like, I can't afford a place off Fountain. I can't afford a place off Sunset. I'm having to live in the worst place in Hollywood, off of Hollywood.
Oh no. Also, yeah.
But you get to make that joke.
So do you
he downgrades from Sunset to Fountain to Franklin to Hollywood,
which is so fun. That's the goofiness about Hollywood as an area, is it's not necessarily directionally based. Like Hollywood's in between Franklin, Sunset. Anyway,
it's not even directionally based, because like there are areas of Sunset that are incredible, and there are areas of Sunset that are shitty as hell.
Yes. But so do you even go more meta starting out? Let's say this starts with the writer's strike.
I don't think we need that, because theoretically we need to start with him being dead.
Okay.
Unless you suggest we're not going to kill him.
I think we got to keep that. I think if you lose that part, and I am a sucker for narration in general, let alone a framing narration. That's one of my favorite parts of this movie, and I personally would want to keep that.
I think we need to.
Yeah.
And I feel like we need to have that component, and I feel like we don't need to show the strike. We just need to show where he is now. Mm-hmm. And because we get to show him, I feel like, working his way back up the list or working his way down the list asking for favors.
Okay.
We get to have him go to all the different places. Like, we can have him meet someone for drinks at Musso and Frank's. We can have him then go to Cantor's Deli and have a nosh with someone and ask them for a favor.
Yeah, I like this more LA-focused idea.
Because, like, it's called Sunset Boulevard. Mm-hmm. You cannot make this anywhere else. And you shouldn't, because there's all the things that like film Atlanta for LA or something.
That's another part I wanted.
But you can't do that. Yeah. This needs to be a movie about Los Angeles and about how Los Angeles will eat you alive if you let it. Mm-hmm. And he is letting it, and so is she.
And the paradox of, everybody I know in LA now not working, but there's more stuff being made, and it's being outsourced. But I think that could be a part of it too, where it's like you're trying to be a writer in LA and it's harder than ever right now. And
I hang out with a lot of people who are or were working writers, and the number of them who have now additional side jobs or day gigs, and they were like show creators is wild. And it's bad. And just like tracking that through here, but then you get to someone like Norma Desmond, who is old money. She's not old money, but she lives as if she is. And I've met people who are like that too. Like there are people who live on Sunset Boulevard. Like I've been in some of those houses. I've also been in some of those houses where they were collapsing, in the sense where it's like, this house is getting shittier and shittier.
For the record, the house, at least the exteriors they shot at, was a real 20s mansion that was owned and abandoned by one of J. Paul Getty's ex-wives.
Wow.
And it's actually like south of Wilshire, interestingly enough. It's not even on Sunset, but...
One of my early jobs, my first few years in LA, is I worked for this digital magazine, and I was like a sales assistant or something. And the guy who owned the magazine, his finances were kind of circling the drain. It used to be successful, but unfortunately the guy who made it successful passed away 10, 15 years prior. And so this guy assumed it was him, and he had this, what used to be a very beautiful house off of Sunset. And I'd been to this house, but he got to a point where, and I'll show you some pictures of things he was trying to have me sell. It got to a point where he was having me like try to list his old possessions on eBay and Craigslist, trying to sell these things. And when I was trying to like discover, and this is a word I learned during this job, provenance.
Better than spending $80,000 for library grad school to learn it.
Yeah.
Because that's what I did.
Well, there's an argument that we both suffered for this knowledge. Because like I never was able to successfully sell anything for him because he wanted $10,000 for everything. And that's just simply not true. And he was like, I bought this for $10,000 at a yard sale in like 1985. And I'm like, none of that can be true. And it was like ostrich skin boots, old arcade cabinets. And it's someone who like had wild like runaway money in the 90s, and then that simply, or in the early 2000s, that simply wasn't the case anymore. It was all kind of like draining away. He had this house off Sunset, and he had a house in Malibu, and he was having to sell those, and like he sold the house on Sunset. It was all crazy wild stuff.
Sure.
I'm not going to talk about one of the things he tried to have me sell that I refused to sell on microphone, but I will show you a picture later.
Please do.
But yeah, like seeing this declining wealth is real, and it shows in ways that you don't really expect. Because it talked about in this movie that her wealth wasn't declining.
Exactly.
Her mental health was declining.
Yes.
But she talked about how, like, we invested it well. I own a part of the oil fields. The money just keeps coming in. I have nothing to spend it on and nothing to do. And it's just sad. There's an element of her just going online, not having one of those accounts where she doesn't follow anyone. She just has followers.
100%.
And she just gets to see people tweeting at her how amazing she is. And of course, none of them are real.
None of them are real. Max does all of the social media. Instead of being a butler, he's her social media manager.
Well, I think he can be the manservant, the assistant, all of that.
But that's part of it now.
Of course it is. And like this guy ends up finding her house because it's a street you were allowed to park on.
Oh, that's so good. That is for 2 hours, maybe.
Well, and then it gets to a point where he's just like, I was just going to kill the 2 hours. And there's like, no, bring your car inside. It'll be fine.
Oh, okay. That's perfect. I think we can all commiserate with how annoying parking is, especially around that area.
100%. Where they don't walk cars on the street, so they say no parking allowed.
So do we have like a why is he I guess, the struggling, but he's not being chased by anybody in this one, right?
The Russian mafia has a huge influence in Los Angeles. Do you not know that?
No.
Don't worry about it then. then no, they don't.
Okay.
Before Ubers and Lyft took off, a lot of the taxi companies were owned by the Russian mafia.
Really?
Yeah.
Did not know that.
Yeah, I was told by someone who was working for the taxi cab companies as his extra job in addition to working at the digital magazine.
Wow. Okay.
He tried to smoke in my car and I told him to knock that shit the fuck up.
Well, yeah, that's a fair thing to stop.
Yeah, I remember that gentleman's name. He was old school New York. Very interesting guy. Don't want to ever talk to him ever again.
Yes. So we have the inciting incident.
But like fundamentally a lot of the things around that track of just like kind of get stuck here, can't really go home, lose the car, working on a script, and basically I know people who hand write their scripts and then have to type it up. Oh. And I also have a story about a man who had short-term memory loss. One of the two ghosts that I'm currently in possession of. One is that box sitting right there. And the other one is this man's book. And it was a man who had short-term memory loss and, like, finished a book about his time as a career reporter and, like, war correspondent journalist and everything and political journalist who had short-term memory loss, form of dementia, and had finished his book 15 years ago but kept working on it. And someone who has been working on a story, I've also met writers who only have one story. And they just work and work and work and expand and expand and expand on that story. They never edit. They never take anything out. All they do is put more in. And it becomes a 300-page script.
Right.
All of that's real. I've met all of those people.
Sure.
So all of that still tracks and makes sense as things that you can give to Norma as things that are real and that happened.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what she would be writing about. I didn't get that
as
far.
Opposed to Salome?
I just don't see a...
There's an obvious one.
What's that?
The obvious one is that she's writing the remake of Sunset Boulevard.
Okay, it crossed my mind, but I'm like, I don't think I'm smart enough to pull that off. But yeah, absolutely. Like, I think that's. I
think you are. I'm not letting you get away with
that.
No.
Again, this
no negative self-talk here.
Okay, that's a good rule. but yeah, no, I think that's amazing. I just don't see an actress trying to find her lost youth in social media being interested in Salome. So I think. But even, like, as you alluded to, like, would an actress in her, I don't know, 50s or 60s now care about Sunset Boulevard in a way?
No, you're right. I feel like she could be writing a movie about Princess Diana.
Princess Di, maybe a Carrie Fisher biopic, because...
what's the one that's about Carrie Fisher? Postcards from the Edge.
Yes, yeah, well, she wrote that, and great book / movie. Highly recommend that.
That was one that I really wanted us to watch in movie club and that didn't get voted for, and I was like, I'm still going to watch it, and I still haven't.
It's great.
I know I need to see it. Something like that. So, like, but we can figure out, like, there's so many other options of just, like, modern...
But then, okay, so I guess the big differentiator here is, do we want her to care about being a movie star again, or do we want her to go in the direction, this is what I was thinking of being a lifestyle influencer or a, like, TikTok famous
Well, that's
influencer.
The question.
Like,
do we have her care about the art, or do we have her care about the fame? Because if she has fans, sometimes the fans are talking about how you're so great, as opposed to your work is so great. So I think that's a very good question you're asking of, like, what is the distinction? Because I don't think she needs to be an influencer. I don't think she needs to be a TikTok dancer.
Okay.
I think that we now
are... A Real Housewife.
Right. I think we're now in a post-50s era of, we have the icons of the 50s. We have our Marilyn Monroe. We have our Breakfast at Tiffany's, like, iconic pose with the pearls and the black and the hair.
Sure.
And our, like, Audrey Hepburn, like, all of that. And I feel like we can have this actress who was famous in the 80s and maybe the 90s say, I think I deserve, and this is a little bit more Fedora actually, where it's, I deserve to be remembered as an icon at that level.
But, like, I guess...
they're doing amazing things with facial restoration in movies now.
They sure are. De Niro.
She says.
So De Niro is now the new Swanson, but
Kinda.
Or not Swanson, new Desmond. We'll get there. We'll get there. But I think that's such a great question: is does Norma Desmond, the character, care more about fame or the art she was a part of? And I don't know the answer to that question. I lean towards the fame, but you can tell she cares about silent film, but then she only watches her own films.
I think the way I would pitch it is...
Yeah.
The way she sells it to Joe is that she cares about the movie and everything, but what we learn over the course of the movie is that she doesn't care if the movie's a success as long as people remember her and she's on the cover of magazines again.
Like, and magazines now, though? Like...
That's what she's going to say.
Good point. Right, absolutely.
So, like, I feel like it's going to be this whole thing, and they're going to have this whole thing where Joe's like, the movie's not going to be good if we do this. She's like, I don't care if the movie's good.
Which is kind of what she says in the original film. She's just like, I want to work again.
My fans just want to see me.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if it's... Haven't you ever heard there's no such thing as bad publicity? Which is going to be very apparent at the end of the movie when she kills a man.
She becomes a star. She is, and that's, I think I forgot to mention, that's also her getting what she wants.
It's it doesn't matter if it's bad because she's famous again. She just got everything she ever wanted. And I think that's as simple as it can be.
Great.
It's like she's trying to do it through the only way she knows, by being in movies, because she doesn't really understand social media because she's old. But fundamentally, like, it was just to be famous.
Right. But I want to take that point, because that's where I started thinking that this remake is fascinating, but also very tough, because I don't want to just be like, you're old, you don't get social media. Like, that stereotype is something that this movie could confront with, but I don't think it necessarily needs to be, like, maybe she is talented at doing social media, but it's just not equating to her going back to being
I think that's true.
A movie star, because movie stars don't exist right now. We have stars, we have movie and TV stars, but as far as I know, the only big movie star that is not doing TV is Tom Cruise. Everybody else has kind of gone and done TV, which I'm not saying that's neither here nor there, but the concept of a movie star in the way it was in the 20s to the 50s to the 90s is just different now. Social media is a big part of that. And whether or not they care about doing it, I would imagine every celebrity has a team that does help with their social media in some way or another.
And I think she can have the wherewithal to know, like, the fact that she has an account that is verified and doesn't follow anyone and just has followers, she can say, because that way we know that people aren't following her because she's following them. We know that they're there exclusively because, like, and she can have this whole thing of, like, the social media knowledge of, this is people who are fans and know that it's her. Mm-hmm. And, like, occasionally she will put out a tweet and she will say something, and she gets to see all these people who are there because they are fans of her, adore the things she has to say.
Sure.
But that also means that she's not getting any of the rest of the internet coming back to her, because she doesn't have a feed herself. Mm-hmm. The only feed she has are people retweeting her.
So this is very different than the casting aspect of it, but that description, that kind of celebrity, does really bring me to a Britney Spears type.
Yeah, kind of.
And I highly recommend reading or listening to her memoir. It's horrifyingly sad.
Yes. But I do think that's a good comparison.
Right.
Like, I think that is, if anything, that's the comparison.
Oh, damn. That's sad, but right. But that's a definitely good jumping off point of, like, the type of fame to the kind of fall, the almost coming back and it being worse. I don't know. I'm so fascinated by her and hope the best for sure.
Absolutely.
But that did influence eventually when we get to casting. But yeah, I think that's a good way to go about it, is like the being isolated so in social media is such a cool point where she's not in the same with Norma not going out into the world. This new character does not,
and that can also be like the whole agoraphobic thing, but she's like, well, I don't need to go outside, I can interact with my fans here. Right. And she has Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and she's doing all these different things, not following anybody, just seeing the echo chamber of her own likes. And, like, while I don't have time to go anywhere, I have to maintain this presence for my fans. But in the evenings or whatever, I'm working on the script so that I can, because what my fans have been begging for me to do is return to the movies. Mm-hmm. Because, like, that's what the robots are asking for or whatever. And so, like, I think that, gives an excuse for her to be, a self-identified excuse for her to be inside. Mm-hmm. It is further isolating, and we get to be on Sunset Boulevard. Okay, so that's, like, our nature. We kind of talked about our Joe. We've kind of talked about our Norma. I feel like our Betty and our Artie, pretty straightforward, kind of the same basic ideas. I don't really have any changes for those characters. Yeah,
agreed. I think Artie could be a very kind of over-intellectualized LA film bro.
I don't even think we need to do that. I think he could be the only person in the movie that's genuinely happy.
Oh, really? Okay. I never liked Artie watching it.
Well, because, like, I had the comment on the movie when we were talking about it. He was like, well, if you're making this movie, if you need an AD, I'm an AD.
Yeah, okay.
And it's like, he's an AD who has no aspirations of being a director. He found, or it wasn't even an AD, it was like a second AD or something. Yeah. And it was like, he found the thing that he likes to do, and he was happy to do that forever.
Great.
And I was like, that's really interesting that, like, he doesn't have, like, he's an AD, but he doesn't want to be a director or something. And I was like, wait, Betty does.
Mm-hmm. She has the
drive. Yeah,
the drive.
And that I thought was really interesting of, we don't need every single person in this movie to have these, like, perhaps unreasonable, despite the fact that I share these goals. But the whole idea behind it of like having this whole expectation and just like the continually looking up instead of being happy with what you have. And I feel like Artie can be our example of being happy with what he has, which is what draws Betty to him until she gets the whiff of potential success.
Exactly.
Like, she's happy when this, like, I have achieved something and I'm happy here in this stasis. Oh no, there is the potential for me to have more. Of course I'm going to be drawn by the siren song of more.
So do you think just in the original movie, Artie kind of does end happy, where he's like, well, Betty left me, but like...
Did she get a chance to leave him?
Well...
Because kind of what happens is he invites her to, where are they, New Mexico?
I believe so.
So he invites her to New Mexico. She tells Joe that she doesn't want to go to New Mexico. She wants to stay here and be with Joe. She goes home, and he's like, that's incredible. They kiss. That's amazing. And then she goes home, gets a phone call from Norma. He goes and shows up. That's all the same evening. Yeah. I don't think she's had a chance to break up with Artie.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah. I like the idea of Artie being the one happy character. Yeah. I think that's necessary for sure. So, okay. And then, Betty, again, precocious, young writer. I love the bit of the story with her kind of growing up in Hollywood, being born right next to the studio.
That was very fun, of just like growing up. And so they fixed her nose. Then they fixed it again. Her nose was perfect, but now she was too old.
And she couldn't act.
Oh, she couldn't act. That's what it was. She couldn't act. It was like
I think that's implied, though. That like
no, it was she couldn't act, which is very, very funny to me.
Right.
It was like this whole big build-up of like, yes, we're going to get you to look like a star. They finally did it. They loved her nose. Oh, wait, you can't act. Shit.
Yeah.
That sucks.
And she's kind of super cool about it.
Yeah.
She's like, then I worked in the mailroom and now I'm a reader. And like, at 22, good on you. Like, that's a lot. That's better than where I was at 22.
There was no chance for a second she was 22 years old. That was a late 20s person if ever I've seen one. However...
Yeah, I don't know her age. Like, the actress's
The fact that she went through that whole arc of fixing her nose, doing all those different things, found out she can't act, and then worked her way up from the mailroom by the time she's 22? No.
Yeah. It's
I get that she's a legacy and a Nepo baby, but still.
Betty Schaefer, the Nepo baby.
The Nepo baby. Which kind of is true. But, like... I think that's true, and I think she'd given up because she couldn't act, and she's like, I found a place where I'm happy, and then it's like, but don't you want more? Maybe I do want more, and like that's the thing that's drawing her away, and I think that works for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't necessarily have anything else, and then like everything collapses around them, and Norma kills Joe.
Sure, and you got to have that, and apparently there was is this a metaphor? A stillborn adaptation of Sunset Boulevard called Boulevard with an exclamation mark, starring, I believe, I don't remember who it starred, but the whole concept was it's a happy ending. And Norma allows Joe to go off with Betty.
Unless that is a capital S satire.
I don't think it was.
That's a mistake.
Yeah.
It's a good thing that thing never happened, because what the fuck?
Yeah, you have to keep that ending. It's then I don't know what you do about
the framing device.
The framing device. It's a key part of all of that.
You treat the framing device like they treated in American Fiction and then he goes on to write Sunset Boulevard, this great tragedy, but he's happy at the end and he gets the girl. Yeah. You have the unreliable narrator continue to be the alive, reliable narrator.
Not gonna happen.
No.
So she kills him. I like the poetry of the commentary that I was listening to for this film. The commentator was talking about how DeMille hated Westerns, which hurts me because that's primarily what I work on.
No.
But they were like, but the poetry of getting shot in the back and the Wild West implications of like that being a betrayal like wouldn't have been lost on DeMille. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. And so I think that's the nature of our story as it is. Like,
right.
A lot of Sunset Boulevard is Sunset Boulevard. Like, if you're doing a remake, a lot of those things have to remain the same. So good. Let's talk about casting.
Okay.
I want to hear yours
that's
first.
Where it goes.
Yeah.
That's where I kind of started, and I am glad we were able to go through the movie, but I have 2 lanes we can go through.
Please.
I have one lane that's just marked make Sam laugh.
Okay.
And then I have one that's like more genuine, and then the more I kept going through both of them, I kind of like
the Make Sam
the
Laugh?
Make Sam Laugh one.
All right, great.
And I think
like
it works.
Great, hit me.
So here's my pitch, and maybe we could go into the other one, because I am not a casting director and do like provocative / annoying actors sometimes if they're good. So I'm gonna just say 2 words and we can go from there. But Jennifer Lopez.
I did consider her.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I think her story is absolutely fascinating, and a big part of Gloria Swanson is she didn't really live the life of Norma Desmond.
No.
And I'm not saying J-Lo is at all washed up or unknown or just not successful, but I think in her recent work, which I would love to talk about, you can see a pining for her late 90s, early 2000s status.
Yeah, we're all just trying to go back to a world of Geely.
So that's, well,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's hard to compare The Boy Next Door to Jenny from the Block.
Of course. Yeah.
Of like this incredible success, and like no one can say that J-Lo isn't an incredible beauty, like, and has ever not been that.
Right.
And has maintained that for her entire life.
Absolutely.
And having a movie about that would be fascinating because, like, that's a lot. And there's so much that goes into it.
And she's a true diva. And
Absolutely.
she has this romantic history. So a lot of this comes, I do have to throw in that her epic music video from a year or 2 ago called This Is Me, ... now, a love story, is like this hour-long visual companion to her album. And it's crazy and quite bad, but also her megalopolis, where she spent $20 to $25 million of her own money to produce it. It looks like a Marvel movie. It's extraterrestrial. You have a panel of gods that include Neil deGrasse Tyson and Kim Petras and Jane Fonda. But the real thing is that she made a documentary about the making of it.
Okay,
and
which I'm sure is way more interesting.
It's fascinating. Like, actually fascinating.
And kind of like how when we watched The Thief and the Cobbler, it's like The Thief and the Cobbler was fine, but the story about The Thief and the Cobbler was so much more interesting.
But you get to see Jennifer Lopez as again, diva is such a loaded sexist word. I don't necessarily want to just like throw that in, but I also think I love diva. I love a Mariah Carey. I love
for sure
that sort of thing.
And I think that is an extra element and component to this that I think is interesting.
Yeah.
I went through 3 different phases, and I toyed with an idea, and then I dismissed it. Then I toyed with an idea and dismissed it. My first idea, because there's an obvious choice for this, because it's Jean Smart.
Oh.
And I'm like, and I was like, that is that because she's playing that character already. But then at that point, it's a hacks on a hacks.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, she's doing that already.
But she definitely could.
Yeah.
Like, she would be
which is
amazing.
why she is doing it. And you can't have her doing it again. Like, there's no point in that. I would imagine nothing creatively interesting for her about that. She's just like doing the same character some more. But like, fundamentally, she's doing that. And I think it needs to be identified.
Sure.
The next person I considered, because obviously Norma Desmond is 50 years old in the movie, and so I was looking for someone who was around that age. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking of someone who was very, very popular when she was very young, and is still popular and gorgeous and all of these sorts of things, and I landed on Jennifer Connelly. And I was like,
I will cast her in anything.
That's exactly it. It's like, but I feel like Jennifer Connelly is still someone who can like walk in and be incredible, and she like all of those different elements and components, and like I was like, but 50 years old in 1950 is different than 50 years old now. Right. And unfortunately, I think Jennifer Connelly actually isn't old enough yet.
Sure.
And so that's when I ended up landing on someone who was known as being one of the most gorgeous women in like the 80s and stuff, when she was like being cast in these movies in her late teens. And she's still in movies and she's still doing stuff. Like she was in like some Marvels and stuff, but like it's more just like, oh, there she is. And that's why I think my choice for this role for Norma Desmond is Michelle Pfeiffer.
Oh, I think that's a really interesting
the thing that you can do if you want to have her watching her old movies, you can have her watching Scarface.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like that arc of her character in Scarface is so relevant to everything, of just like this young woman who just is kind of attaching herself to power in the same way that Norma Desmond is just attaching herself to fame wherever it happens to be.
Pfeiffer's character recognizes that she's truly unhappy with this man, but decides, I want to...
Because I'm not willing to give up. I'm not willing to go back to not having this kind of lifestyle.
Totally.
This provides me with a way to not think, and it's certainly at a time when that was not analyzed at all. What else does that say about her, that she's so unhappy that she'd rather just like go through life in a fugue state than consider anything else?
That's a really, really
And obviously, like,
cool
you're here
choice.
with a water bottle from The Substance, so Demi Moore obviously has to be a part of that.
I did want to mention, when like I first started thinking about this, I'm like, well, we've already made Sunset Boulevard. It's The Substance, and it's perfect.
Correct.
Then the friend I was telling it to is like, well, it's actually more of an all about Eve film, and I'm like, oh, okay. So both of these like landmark movies from the 50s really lent themselves to this movie. Demi Moore, again, The Substance deals with these themes, and it is such.
Demi Moore, whose young husband then went on to marry a young woman.
And we all love Ashton now.
Do we?
No, I mean, I say that with intended.
I'll make sure to save all
irony.
that love on his fucking blockchain.
Yeah. Not great. But this, I'm glad you brought up The Substance, because I think The Substance did this. Well, the whole performative male thing. I like a labeled water bottle. I'm sorry.
It's a perfect water bottle.
Cool water
I'm
bottle.
not judging
it like
you.
has the. And anyway, no one can see it, but just know it's cool and it glows in the dark.
That's so cool.
But The Substance treated this sort of idea in such an original, obtuse enough way that I don't think when I initially saw it, I immediately was like, oh, that's Sunset Boulevard. But when you go into it, it does the idea of wanting to be young in such a cool, horrific way that I was like, do we actually need a remake of Sunset Boulevard? And I think we do, because I think even the Hollywood aspect of that is great, but The Substance is fundamentally, I'm going out on a limb, not realistic medically.
No way.
Or about like someone
and, like,
I know.
That's a separate conversation about a movie to have. But like I feel like Demi Moore needs to be in the conversation.
Demi Moore, definitely.
But I feel like J-Lo's genuinely a good choice. I think the conversation about how old does Norma Desmond need to be right now is relevant. And, like, that's why I do think Michelle Pfeiffer is the correct choice. But I will cede judgment to you if you think there's a reason not to go with her.
I want to go through my J-Lo rabbit hole, because all of the rest of the casting is influenced by that, in the sense of...
Then we'll leave Norma Desmond for the time being.
We will. But I also want to say the other modern... The better, kind of more serious one is, I think, Naomi Watts also could be an incredible Norma Desmond, because of her kind of amazing breakout with Mulholland Drive.
Right.
Obviously. And
her streets-based career.
I love her career. She needs a new agent. But there are some great things she's been doing, and I would like to see her have this kind of metatextual comeback of being this Mulholland Drive. She's an All's Fair.
Well, so I'm on her IMDb Pro, and I'm like looking at her performer profile, and she's like, Naomi Watts, aka plays Zane Darrow, and then nickname, Queen of Remakes. And I'm like, what?
She was in The Ring, but
also, I guess she was in King Kong.
Yeah. All right. Queen of Remakes, Naomi Watts.
Look, if that's what you want, I'll let you have it.
I just think that's one more name I'd like to toss in, because and I think the one fun thing you could really do with that is have my choice that would not work is David Lynch as Cecil B. DeMille. Where David Lynch is working, she comes back, she's like, hey, we gotta do this again.
David Lynch would have been the correct person for Cecil B. DeMille.
As Naomi Watts. But again, you get too specific and too meta that I think it does lose. So
yes, I agree with you.
Yeah.
You went first for Norma Desmond, so let me tell you about my Joe Gillis.
Please.
My Joe Gillis is a little bit less well known, and I was like, well, he's kind of on his way up right now, which feels like a right place for this character.
Just like William Holden.
Right.
Yep.
So this actor was in Fences, he's in Babylon, and most recently he's in It, Welcome to Derry.
Oh, I haven't seen that one yet.
Neither have I, but it's supposed to be very good.
Okay.
And so I went with an actor named Jovan Adepo. A-D-E-P-O.
Oh, yeah, of course. In Watchmen. Yeah, okay. I think that's a very interesting choice. So he'd be, what, 35?
Yeah.
36? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I feel like that kind of made sense to me.
Yeah, I think that would definitely work as like a, like very established but not, household name actor like William Holden was.
Yep.
If I may,
please.
There you go. So continuing on actors whose names precede them and someone who was in a boxing movie like William Holden was, I kept seeing Miles Teller.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And I think he can do this weird balancing act of like annoying but genuine. And Joe Gillis, to me, I still think about as a character, like, do I like him? Am I rooting for him? Or is he just another kind of annoying, like,
one of the comments I made
person
while we were watching the movie is that he is unlikable and allowed to be so.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I think that's what Miles Teller's really good at.
Well, it's true because he's a bad person.
Yes.
But yeah, who did you have for your Max von Mayerling?
So this is I am not married to this, but if you cast Jennifer Lopez, you have to have Ben Affleck as Max.
Yeah, that's
He's
true.
He's a director.
Yeah.
They've been married.
It's very cutesy.
It's cutesy.
They have been married, then they weren't, then they were married again, and then I think they broke up again.
Correct.
I don't know what's going on with them.
I think that could offer a lot of fun to have.
If you're going with J-Lo, Ben Affleck is very funny.
But if you
the problem is that he's too recognizable. Like the whole thing, because again, that was a bit. You didn't know this because it wasn't a big twist for you, but it was a big twist for me.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And like this whole thing of like, no, you don't understand. I discovered her. I was her first director and her first husband. Like, and I'm just like, I'm sitting there going, whoa!
Yeah, and
like,
that's a fun
huge
reveal.
For me.
I did look at some of the original directors of her early films, and no one really stuck out. I do love that idea, but okay, but I think Michelle Pfeiffer is probably the way to go.
Probably.
So who would...
Oh, this is the one that I didn't love.
Okay.
This is my one casting where I'm just like, I feel like we can do better, so we might come back around to this. But my Max von Mayerling, I went with a guy. He was in Dear White People. He was in Major League, and then he was in 24, famously. Dennis Haysbert.
Okay. I'm sure I know the face.
He's the Allstate guy.
Oh, no. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
And it's like, I like the idea of him being like, I'm just here. I'm taking care of this woman. And then it's like, no, you don't understand. I was a black director, and I was having success.
Yeah.
But I left it all to take care of her.
I like that.
And I just like, and it's just, and especially because my Joe is also black, and it's just like that extra element of like, you of all people understand what I gave up to do this.
Right.
And then like,
that's great.
Like my success kind of paved way for your early success, and then you fucked it up, you child.
Exactly.
Like, But I left that all behind to take care of this woman. Do you have any idea how much of a fall that is for me?
Sure.
And like I thought that would be so like interesting and compelling, but like
he's so good in Far From Heaven too that like he can really pull that serious.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people were like, Eric von Stroheim is really the grounding force in this movie. Like
absolutely, despite the fact that he's enabling the biggest craziness, he is the grounding force.
It's such a crazy.
He's the lightning rod. He gets struck by lightning all the time, but he's what keeps it in the ground.
Yep, absolutely.
Metaphors. I do really like my casting for Betty.
Yeah,
though.
Please.
So, my Betty, I wanted someone who was dry, witty, acerbic, and very, very funny.
I swear to God, if you say who you're going to say, I will be excited.
I don't know if you're expecting me to say Aaliyah Shawkat.
No. Damn. I had Ayo Edebiri.
Oh, Ayo Edebiri would be excellent.
Yeah. And that's exactly who you described as dry, witty, very funny.
Yeah.
Sell me on Shawkat.
Well, just like that kind of comedy and the kind of like, we need someone who intrigues Joe Gillis on a intellectual level and also is gorgeous, but like the reason why he's drawn to her is because like he's matching wits with her in ways that has not happened at any other point of the movie. I say this as a writer, but if you keep up with my sarcasm, I will immediately fall in love with you. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm so sorry. And just like fundamentally, like that is kind of something that Aaliyah Shawkat would be really, really good at.
So great.
Yeah. And so like that kind of idea. Ayo Edebiri has been the theme of this season.
I know that. Yeah.
turning her down. I feel like in this moment, I'm going to say we have to go with Ayo Debris.
Okay, fair enough. Also, yeah, for directors, I did Phil Lord and Chris Miller. No, I'm kidding. But I do think that's a fun running kind of joke with your shows.
Yeah.
They are always done. I also think, like, if I'm going to go with my annoying / talented actor pool, Lily Rose Depp could be a really interesting. I think she has comedy chops.
I think she does too. I think unfortunately we need a few years away from what was it, the
Idol.
The Idol, because like I feel like there's a chance that could have been her big breakout incredible hit, but it wasn't, and I think it actually is like potential like career poison, and I think she needs to get away from it and then come back.
Nosferatu was great.
Yeah,
I liked her in that, but that does bring me to my very goofy casting of The House.
Oh, okay.
Which is the house they used in The Idol, which is The Weeknd's house.
Great.
Just dilapidated a bit. It's fine. That's a show. Last one, Sophie Thatcher, I find very talented as well.
For which part?
She was in Companion and Yellow Jacket. For Betty Schaefer.
Oh, got it.
And I think could also, like, she has that kind of acerbicness. I'm wanting a meaner Betty Schaefer than I think there is in the original, but I am totally great with Ayo. Like,
yeah, I feel like that's the correct choice. Yeah. Did you have a Zach? Well, let me just tell you who I had. For my Artie Green, I cast Zach Cherry.
Oh, I had a name that I crossed out because I misunderstood the character, but for an Artie, like...
You didn't misunderstand of him. You thought of him differently than I did.
No, I misunderstood. I cast Matt Damon. I'm like, oh no, that's not the friend of Max. It's the friend of Joe.
Yeah.
So that was bad.
Then yeah, that is a mistake.
But I will say, I think someone who's, the happy person, who's genuine... Harry Melling.
I don't know who this is.
Yes, you do. He is Dudley Dursley in Harry Potter.
Oh.
But I just saw him in a film that's coming out, I think, soon called Pillion. I could talk about that movie for another hour in a great way. It's amazing. But Harry Melling is so endearing and so just like an authentic person that, as an actor, he just comes that across. So I'm convinced. I'm going with
Harry Melling is a great choice. I think that's fantastic. Did you have any other like actor roles outside of writer and director?
I did think John Lithgow would be great as Sheldrake, that producer at the beginning. They just kind of have that same thing. And then I think casting the Waxworks would be really interesting.
All three of them?
I threw out some names that I'm like, well, even our other suggestions as Norma could be good wax. Like, what are contemporaries that would
Great,
kind of be on there? I think a Jean Smart would be funny because then it has that meta goofiness.
Yeah, fundamentally this is a meta movie and we need to address that.
Totally. And I think Jean Smart being a waxwork, knowing that Hacks is this huge success, would be a lot of fun. I'm trying to think of a good Buster Keaton-esque level comedian to do him. I'm doing this on the spot. I was like, we should do the Waxworks, and didn't actually come up with any, but I'll mull it around in my head if we could.
If you want a Buster Keaton analog, he's nothing like Buster Keaton, but like that same sort of thing, you can do John Malkovich.
John Malkovich also works. It could also be funny if he played two parts in a being John Malkovich almost-esque joke. I don't know if we'll get there. And then, what was it? H.P. Warner, Anna Q. Linden, and Buster Keaton were all the Waxworks. So I'll come back on H.P. Warner. But,
okay.
But yeah.
And so then Michelle Pfeiffer, Jovan Adepo, Dennis Haysbert.
Great.
Okay. Then with that in mind, if we're going to have Norma Desmond be Michelle Pfeiffer, then our Cecil B. DeMille could be Brian De Palma.
I like that. I was going to go big. I was going to go Coppola, because...
What has he directed that she's in?
Oh, well, not what she's in, but with... And sorry, we're doing... I messed up. Are we doing Cecil B. DeMille or Billy Wilder? Sorry.
I'm not on the real director. Like, we'll get to the writer and director. I'm thinking of the one in the movie.
Oh!
Because Cecil B. DeMille didn't direct this movie.
My bad. Yes, exactly. I definitely got confused. So, yeah, easily. Brian De Palma, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah. I assume he can act. Great choice.
So it sounds like you went with Coppola for the actual director of the movie.
I think Coppola would be the great actual director because he does have this relationship with Paramount. He was the Cecil B. DeMille of the 70s for Paramount.
Sure.
He even though, again, I know it's Billy Wilder, but we're talking two directors, one actually directing, one being a persona of a director. And I am confusing them, but I do think Coppola does have this relationship with Paramount that would necessitate someone like him directing it. I think people would be very interested if he was announced he was directing it. As a unabashed fan of Megalopolis, I think he has this, grandiose vision of Hollywood and filmmaking that would completely add to a film like that. But I also, Emerald Fennell would be chaotic.
I don't know who that is.
Saltburn,
okay.
Promising Young Woman. She has a new Wuthering Heights adaptation coming out. This is going to make every listener not like me, and that's okay.
If there's one thing we've learned from Sunset Boulevard, you don't have to be liked.
just
as long as you're adored.
Absolutely. I think she could do a really cool modern set version of it. I think she's really in touch, musically. You get I actually cast the composer as well, because I think Franz Waxman is such an important part.
Great. Who do you have for the composer?
So I have someone like the Dare, the DJ who does music for Charlie XCX. But then if you want to go a more kind of orchestral. Apparently, Franz Waxman was influenced by tango music for the original, because they talk about the tango. Hildur Guðnadóttir, this Icelandic composer, she did Chernobyl, the Joker movies. She's the hot composer.
Great. Okay.
Right now. I think if you wanted a less electronic...
I don't have someone for this, so you just pick. Who do you want?
Let's do Hildur. That's a safer choice.
I don't care about safe. I care about who you want.
She's also, great. Being a composer for Tar is... impressive.
Yeah, that alone is what I would have opened with. So my director is David Fincher.
Sell me.
Yeah, mostly because of Gone Girl. So my writer and director are, I'm doing this in reverse order. I went with, because for me, it's the thriller aspect, and there's a difference between a thriller in the 50s and a thriller in 2025, because the nature of everything has changed. And the tension of, I don't know what's going to happen. And there's something with Gone Girl and Beau is Afraid where there's the awkwardness and the tension and just that we don't know what's about to happen.
Okay.
But you pair that with Mank, and it's a story about a writer. So, I went with David Fincher, partly because Presley suggested it, and I was like, yeah, great. I think that's an amazing suggestion. I fully support that. But I'm willing to be convinced otherwise.
Since I am not married to my writer, I'm going to put my heels in for a Coppola.
Great.
Because I don't get me wrong, I really like David Fincher.
I'm aware.
I
thought you were going to be like, yeah.
No, especially his older stuff, I've been less...
Great. That's all I needed.
Okay. Yeah, but...
no worries. Francis Ford Coppola's director is fantastic, but I really like my writer.
Okay.
My writer is very good at writing unlikable women. She wrote Young Adult, she wrote Tully, and she wrote Jennifer's Body.
All great movies. Diablo Cody.
I went with Diablo Cody, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's who I have for my writer. So you think about a movie written by Diablo Cody and then directed by Francis Ford Coppola? That's pretty fun.
That's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I will go for that. I will mention my writer because
Please do.
I find his writing fascinating. It's someone that not a lot of people are going to know. His name's Bruce Wagner, and he wrote... He's a novelist primarily. Okay. Has written a couple scripts. I think most notably Maps to the Stars by Cronenberg.
Well, if you're going to be hanging out on Sunset Boulevard, you're going to find a map to the stars.
He writes about L.A. That's great. I don't want to let that go. But he writes about L.A. in the meanest way. It's his recent books, The Marvel Universe, not about that, and this other book called Amputation I don't necessarily recommend and don't want to be responsible for that because they're tough. Yeah. They're tough books, but he makes fun of LA and writing in LA and Hollywood in a way that I think would just be perfect for Sunset Boulevard. He wrote a movie in the 80s that Paramount produced and never released called Young Lust, which I have preserved, but no one can watch it. And I just want to get the notice out there that, like, this movie's crazy and his writing is amazing. It's a really fascinating guy, but if you're going to sell a movie, I would 100% go with Diablo Cody. So,
interesting.
No problem.
All right. So then that's our cast. Let me take you through what we have for Sunset Boulevard.
Great.
The new one. Norma Desmond is going to be played by Michelle Pfeiffer. Joe Gillis is going to be Giovanna Depo. Max von Merling is going to be Dennis Haysbert. Betty Schaefer is going to be Aowa Debris. Artie Green is going to be Harry Melling. Our new Cecil B. DeMille will be Brian De Palma. The House will be The Weeknd's house. Sheldrake will be John Lithgow. A couple of our waxworks will be Gene Smart, John Malkovich. We'll find someone else. All this will be composed by Hildur Guðnadóttir. All this will be written by Diablo Cody and directed by Francis Ford Coppola. That is Sunset Boulevard.
I'd watch it.
Yeah, good. So, Graham, thank you so much for being my guest and having me watch this movie that I should have watched a decade ago.
Of course. Thank you for having me. I again, this is such a pleasure to talk about one of my favorite movies in a way I've never thought about it. And I've genuinely learned a lot about it from this.
Good. That's great.
Yeah.
Now, with that in mind, now's the time for you to plug stuff. Is there anything that you want people to follow on social media, or just you're a film historian? Is there anything you want them to watch or movies you want them to request to be more popular or available?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, go out and buy the 4K release of Sunset Boulevard that Paramount came out. It's an incredible feat of restoration, and we recently won an award from the Digital Entertainment Group for best use of technology in a restoration. If you want to know about that, my boss's podcast is called Perf Damage, and I was a guest on it talking about some other things I have restored, including silent films and Fleischer cartoons.
Oh, that's great. I grew up with the Superman Fleischer cartoons.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, well, I don't know. With Warner Brothers and Paramount, who knows?
Who knows?
I'm not much of a social media person, but I am on Letterboxd at Gwindalf, Gwindalf. Give me a follow there, and you can see what I tend to preserve and watch, and also my bad takes on new movies.
Great. Fantastic. Thank you so much. If you're interested in following me, I am on Instagram at Ideal Remake, or you can follow me on BlueSky at Sam Gasch, SamGasch. Or if you have thoughts about Sunset Boulevard and want to tell me them, or just want to give me your hot takes on Los Angeles, I will listen to that on the Dueling Genre Discord, which has a link in the show notes of this episode. But we've reached the end of this episode. I've been shot in the back and am dead in the pool. So now we will end this episode the same way we end every episode. Graham, what is your favorite quote from the movie Sunset Boulevard?
My favorite quote is the one right before the most famous line of Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up. I think that's right. It gets misquoted.
Yes, correct. It is misquoted all the time.
Yes.
But Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up is, I think, more correct.
No, I am your father. It's the way Norma Desmond delivers all you wonderful people out there in the dark. I love in art nothing more than being acknowledged, implicated, and blamed as a viewer of art, and having her stare at you, acknowledging you as the viewer as this movie ends, gives me chills every time.
That's very, very good. And also the hand gesture.
Of course.
Yeah. Good. We did it. We remade Sunset Boulevard.